Welcome to the session at the Stone Ridge Connect event related to Business Central and Dynamics GP and learning about some of the key differences between the two solutions. So we'll look at how you can streamline your processes, boost some efficiency, and transform the way you manage your business using Business Central. So our agenda today is to do a comparison of Dynamics 365 Business Central and Dynamics GP. And the areas that we're going to look at will be the chart of accounts and dimensions, templates and number series, list pages, filters and exports, journals, and financial reporting. For those of you that don't know me, I'm Deb Schaefer. I am a team manager and solution architect at Stone Ridge, and I'm on the Dynamics BC delivery team. I've been with Stone Ridge a little over 6 years and have been working in the Dynamics space, starting out with Dynamics GP since 2000. I've also worked with CRM and CE and then Business Central. I have an accounting degree, and that's typically my focus. However, I do work in some in the manufacturing space and do a number of what we call multi-workload projects where we are working not only with Business Central, but also CE and the integrations related to that to push and pull data back and forth. One of my passions is to assist our customers during the implementation process to reduce the number of outside spreadsheets that are being used in a lot of companies. So getting that data into the system so that you no longer have to maintain and have the associated risk with those outside spreadsheets is something that I hope that we can accomplish as we go through your project. So some benefits of going to D365 Business Central is this is a SaaS-based or software as a service cloud-based solution. And with that, that means you no longer have to maintain servers. So you don't have to have that server room and worry about the air conditioning and whether it's too hot or too cold and what those servers are doing. This takes that risk off the table. This is a cloud-based solution, which means that you can access the solution anywhere. So as long as you've got an internet connection, you can connect back to your data and work as you need to. You also get automatic updates and a simplified upgrade process. So with Business Central, there are monthly updates. These tend to be just small updates, maybe some minor fixes if are needed, any other type of updates during the month. For the major updates or upgrades, so typically what you do in GP right now is that you get the one upgrade at the end of the year. Business Central upgrades 2 times per year, so April and October, and those are major updates. So they include new functionality, new features, and there's a lot of really good data available about what will be included in those new features and upgrades. Those upgrades can be scheduled. We typically will do those upgrades first in a sandbox environment so that you have time to test. And then once everything is cleared, then we'll schedule to do the upgrade to your production environment. In addition, you'll get the seamless integrations with other Microsoft tools. So you'll be able to tag together your Microsoft Outlook emails into Business Central. You can do the same things with Teams, and that data, then you can see that in multiple places, and you don't have to jump back and forth between solutions. This will also provide you some additional automation and efficiencies throughout the solution, so you can get those processes automated and reduce manual work and potentially errors as well. So the first area that we're going to talk about this morning is the chart of accounts and dimensions. So on the left side of the screen here, we have the accounts and segments from Dynamics GP. This is where you define what does your account structure look like. So we've, in this case, got our accounts and segments, our main account, our division, and our department. and the total character count of our chart of accounts is 9. When you add a new department or a new division, you have to go through and exponentially grow your chart of accounts to include the correct combinations of either that new department or dimension, or if you even add just another account number. Typically, that impacts your revenue and expense accounts or your P&L accounts, but it can impact your balance sheet accounts as well. In Business Central, the chart of accounts is based on the concept of accounts and dimensions. So we have a main account and up to at least 8 different dimensions. And dimensions are the same type of thing as your segments are in GP. So we can have dimensions that are division or department or customer vertical or salesperson. Depending on how you want to be able to slice and dice your data, we can define those dimensions and assign those throughout the system. So what this does is it allows you to keep your chart of accounts really fixed. You don't have to exponentially grow your chart of accounts because your chart of accounts is really going to identify those main accounts. But your dimensions are going to give you that ability to track more data, give you better visibility to overall activities, whether again it's divisions or departments or customer verticals, let's say. You can also define approved dimension combinations, meaning that if there are specific, let's say, department and divisions that you want to restrict users from choosing a wrong combination, we can do that in Business Central as well. And those default dimensions can all be assigned to master records and transactions. So what that means is that by, say, pre-assigning a customer vertical to a customer card, whenever a transaction to that customer is created, those dimensions are going to default in. Users don't have to select them, and that takes some of the risk away of misentering data. Again, this also gives you report flexibility because now you can run reports based on those dimensions as well. So you may run your full P&L that's all encompassing, but you may also want to run a P&L based on that particular division or customer vertical. So the next place that we're going to look here is the homepage of Business Central, and that's what this is. So across the top, we've got Cronus. So very similar to how you have Fabricam in Dynamics GP. In Business Central, it's Cronus. So then we have our first menu bar that is going to show you the different modules. So whether we have finance or cost management, sales, purchasing, those are your main modules. And if you click on those, you'll be able to see all of the potential options that you want to work with within that. The next row in that teal color, those are your shortcuts or your bookmarks. And what that allows you to do is to specifically tag particular pages that you spend a lot of time in. So if you work in sales or accounts receivable, you're typically going to see things like customers, maybe items. And then if you're in finance, you're going to potentially see your bank accounts, or maybe you want to tag cash receipts. Then you've got just a message area, message board. So you can put messages up there and pass those so that your other team members can see those messages. And that's a rotating message tag. Then the next area, you've got a high level quick view of activities. So whether you want to see sales or you want to see outstanding purchasing documents or payments that need to be made, you can see those just at a quick glance, all from the home page of Business Central. The next area is the tiles. And so these tiles will go through and show you information related to whether it's sales or purchasing or banking. You can again get a quick glance or a summary view of that data in Business Central. And the benefit to that is that then you can click on these and go into typically a list page that will show you what are all the transactions that make up that particular number. When we're in our chart of accounts in BC, here's where you're going to look and see that the data is very similar to what you are used to. So in this area, in that chart of accounts, you're going to be able to see on the list page here, the account number, the description, the net change amount. Is it a income statement or balance sheet account? Is the account category assets or liabilities? Is it a heading account? Do you have subcategories? And again, you can see those balances based on the particular account that you're looking at. Across the menu bar there, then you've also got the ability to run reports. So in your chart of accounts, the typical reports that you're going to run here would be like a trial balance. Similar to what you have in GP, where if you've got a teal and an underline, that's a drill down option. Yes, you can change the colors in GP, but the concept is the same. That if you click on that net change amount, that's going to take you into the entries that'll show you what makes up that particular balance for a transaction. When we go into the chart of accounts or into a particular account, at the top of the page, it's telling you where are you. So you're in the GL account card. You're on the 15110 accounts receivable account. You have a menu bar across the top that's home, account, balance, related reports, and then automatic. And each one of those provides you different options that you can follow through on those transactions. You can also see on the account, again, the additional setup information related to that account. So number, name, description, is it balance sheet or income statement, name to, so similar to what we do in GP implementations, that name to field is a lot of times used to put your legacy account number in it so that your users have a way to reference that legacy number when they're looking up account numbers and looking up transactions. One of the really cool things within Business Central and the chart of accounts is that if you click on the account menu option, and that's that smaller screen right in the middle there, Business Central provides you a where used list. So if you're on an account and you want to know where throughout BC is this account number used, you can click on that where you used list, and BC will show you all the places that accounts receivable account is assigned. The next area that I want to take a quick look at is the dimensions. So again, dimensions are the way that you're going to be able to slice and dice your data, different from what you're currently doing now in Business Central, or sorry, in GP with your account segments. So in GP, in the example, we had department and dimension. Again, GP does allow you to have 10 segments and 66 characters. Business Central allows you to have 8 dimensions and then an unlimited number of values with those. So you can have multiple combinations of divisions throughout your chart of accounts, and they can be selectively assigned based on the requirements of that division. So in this case, we've got area, we've got our customers, again, division, department, and we can see those here within the department in this case. And then we go up to dimension values. We can see all of the dimensions, the dimension values we have assigned to this particular dimension. The next area that we're going to take a look at here is the templates and number series. So in Dynamics GP, you have your classes set up and these options for the number series in each one of the modules. So you can go into payables and you're going to define the next invoice number. You're going to go into receivables and you can assign the next invoice number as well, based on that particular module that you're in. You can also set up classes. So classes in GP will allow you to quickly add, say, a new customer or a new item because you're defaulting that information in based on that template that you select, or rather the class you select. In Business Central, it's called a template, and then we have the number series. So just like you use classes in GP, we're going to use templates in BC for master records. You're allowed to have multiple template options. So let's say you split out your templates and you've got specific setups needed for customers based on the customer vertical that they're part of. You can have multiple templates to define that so that when a user is creating a new customer, they can select the correct template for the customer that they're entering in. And then in the number series, so different from GP, where you can assign your number series on each one of the modules, the number series in Business Central is all on one page. It allows you to do multiple selections based on logic. You can also drive number series based on date ranges, and it will allow you to define the numbers that you want to see for that. And we're going to take a look at these here in the next couple of slides. So first thing we're looking at is the customer templates. So you can have customer templates, vendor templates, item templates, all of these templates, and you can have as many as you need to have with those. They would be listed out on a list page, and then when you go into that template, you're going to do all the base setup that applies to that particular customer. And you can, again, as we talked about in the dimensions, you can assign the dimensions and dimension values to these different templates so that when, in this case, customers are created, that information is defaulted in and your users don't have to think about, did they key it in right? Did we assign the right dimension? It's based on that template. And so it just makes things more efficient as you're setting up, in this case, customers. This next screen is the number series. So this is the number series where we have all of our possible number series for anything that needs to have a number or an ID assigned to it in Business Central. So whether it's master records, customers, vendors, items, or transactions, maybe it's sales orders and sales invoices, or purchase invoices, or purchase orders. Each one of these can be defined to have a number series. And again, you can have multiple number series based on a particular group. So in your customer templates, let's say, again, you're going to separate out customer templates based on a vertical. So maybe you have hospitals and schools, and you want to have not only a different customer number template for that, but maybe you want to have a different sales invoice number for those. And you can drive those through this number series where you can then define this kind of a customer has this number series, and here's the last time we used it and the last number that was used. We also do have the ability to allow defaults or manual entry of those number series, so you can then decide if you want people to be able to enter in their own number series for that. And then down below here, this is just going into the detail of that customer number series. And it just is showing how you can run a number series based on a date range. So I can put a starting date on this and the number series that I want to use. Do I need a warning label on that? Meaning that if I get to this number, there's going to be a pop-up so a user knows they need to come in and look at this number series and update the numbers. You can also define what the spacing between those numbers is. So if you want 10 characters between each ID, you can do that. Or if you want to do 1 or 5, whatever the preference is for setting up new customers in this case. And then again, you would just go to the next date. If you're going to use a different number series for that, you can drive that here. And as you save out of here, which with Business Central, there's no save. As you tab through things and move on to another line, you're going to always see this saved up in the upper right corner. The next area that we're going to take a look at is list pages. So list pages in GP are really your smart lists. So you can go into your smart lists. You've got smart lists for every module. You can go in and add columns, change columns, remove columns, and then you can export all of these reports to Excel. In Business Central, there are list pages for virtually everything. So you have, list pages for master data, list pages for transactions, and within each of those list pages, you can do filtering, you can find specific data, you can add and change fields, and you have the ability to save your frequently used views and on those list pages. and you can save them by user or you can share with a team. So this is just showing you a couple of the list pages. So the first one is based on the customers, and on the customer page here, this filter is going to be what you'll use to filter that list. In the second screenshot here, this is on sales orders. So I have the filter open here. There are some default views already set up. So whether I want to see my ship not invoiced, maybe I just want to see released, and I can see then based on the view that's selected, the data that's going to be provided back to me. Virtually every page in Business Central has this list page. It makes it very, very easy to go in and find data that you're looking for, as well as to create those views that you use on a regular basis. And each of these views can be exported to Excel, and we'll go into that in just a little bit. The next area that we're looking at here is not only on that list page do you have your out-of-the-box views for these things. On the far right of the page, we have what's called a fact box. And that fact box is condensed or expanded based on this circle with the little I in the upper right corner. And what this does is just provide you data at a quick glance of the particular, in this case, customer that we're looking at related to the sales document. So I can see my customer number, I can see my totals for that customer, whether it's sales or payments, additional customer details, and as always throughout Business Central, if it's in this teal color, you can drill into that and see what makes up those numbers. On this lower screenshot, what I did here is I clicked on this filter list by on the original, and this is going to then show you all of the visible fields that are available. And as you scroll through this, very similar to in your smart list where you can choose and scroll through the list of available columns, this is the same type of thing. Your visible fields are those fields that are currently visible on the list page. And then you also have a list of available fields that you may not see all of them, but you can filter on them. So any of those visible fields in the system, you can filter on. And then in the same list page here, I wanted to talk about that edit in Excel capability or opening in Excel. So just to the left of the filter, we have this right angle with an arrow. And if you click on that, you'll get these options to open in Excel, edit in Excel. You can also share this to team or just copy a link to this. If you copy a link, you can send that link to someone and say, hey, go look at this list and let me know what you think. If you want to share the list in Teams, you can do that. You can open this in Excel, and what that'll do is it'll take all the data in your list and send that to an Excel spreadsheet for you, and you can manipulate that data however you need to. The edit in Excel function in BC is really cool. What it allows you to do is you can export a list. So a lot of times this will be used for things like a GL entry. If you have a GL entry that you want to import in, you can use the edit in Excel functionality to do that very quickly. So you would open up your general journal, the journal that you're going to use for a particular entry. You're going to click on the edit in Excel. That's going to open up that journal in Excel. You can then copy and paste your data into that, and then you can upload or refresh your journal in BC with that particular data. So it's quite time saving to do updates or mass updates to whether it's journals or data within BC by using that edit in Excel functionality. And so talking a little bit more about journals, in GP, you can do journals either by transaction or by batch. In Business Central, virtually all transactions are handled by journals. You can, as expected, you can set up journals by users so that everybody can keep their data straight and not get things confused. In Business Central, you do have the ability to make either 1 or 2 line entries. So what that means is in GP, where you enter a journal and you'll have a debit line and a credit line, in Business Central, you have the ability to actually make a single line entry where both the debits and credits are handled in that same line. And then again, edit in Excel. And then you do have a preview post in BC so that you can view that posting prior to doing the actual post. And so here in one of our general journals, we have the ability to create these different batches. You can, again, assign these batches based on a username, based on whatever identifier that you typically use. But that allows people to do their work in their own batches, keep track of those, and then you can post those as well and do a preview post as needed. This goes into just more detail on a particular journal. So when you're in a general journal, then this first screenshot, this is showing you, here's all the different document types that you could enter a journal for. So whether it's a payment or an invoice or any of the others in the list here. The next screenshot is showing you what type of a transaction are we doing here. So you have the ability to do transactions in the general journals, not only to GL accounts, but to customers, to vendors, to items, to bank accounts. And you can select those as you're entering in the transaction. So if you select a GL account, your lookup for that GL account will be GL accounts. If you're doing something for a customer or a vendor, then the lookup is going to take you to your customer list or your vendor list. And that allows you then to go in and make, say, adjusting entries, but that will impact, say, you're making an adjustment to a vendor for some reason. You can go in and just do this as a general journal, select that vendor, and that vendor is going to be offset by the posting that's assigned to that vendor. And then in that ability to go in and enter in a transaction as a one-line entry, you also have a balance account and balance account number. And what that allows you to do is you can say, all right, so I'm going to enter this transaction in. My offset then is going to be, in this example, it's a revenue and expense account, or rather revenue and AR account. You can go through and enter in that account number that's going to offset, and BC will automatically make that entry for you. Now, you can absolutely make a two-line entry. If you're more comfortable with that, that's fine. You don't have to use the balance account type, but just down below here, I showed that example of we've got our one account selected and then our offset account selected, and that's all we would need to make for that particular entry. And then management reporter. So financial reports in Dynamics GP, typically that's going to be management reporter. It is made up of row and column definitions. Business Central is the same thing. The financial reports out of the box in Business Central are made up of row definitions and column definitions. You can include budgets, do analysis views, and export this data to Excel. And out of the box, this is the view of the reports that are available. You can choose to either view the report or export the reports to Excel. You also have that ability to modify your row and column definitions, very similar to what you're doing in Management Reporter. So viewing the report, this is it's nice functionality in the fact that in this view report, you can go through and you can define what's the length of time that I want to look at this report, what's the date range, and you can get an example, not even an example, you can get the report. You can visibly see the report at the bottom of the screen. You can then do that filtering with those dimensions and define, do I want to see just say the numbers for this department? Then I can see those down below. The other option that you have is when you print the report, and when you print any report in BC, you're going to have that ability to send to. So what that means is any report that you print in BC, you can choose how you want that report created. So do you want a PDF? Do you want to put it in a Word doc? Do you want to export this to Excel? And you have the two options here because the one option gives you the layout and the other is just really the data. So you're not getting the headers for that. And so if you'd like to see more about Dynamics Business Central, we do have a demo the third Thursday of every month, and the next one will be on Thursday, May 15th at 1 p.m. Central. We also have a YouTube site that includes videos on upgrading GP and moving to the cloud. Also, our website has a ton of information on it. So when you're looking at putting the timeline together for moving from GP to Business Central, we can absolutely help you with that. We've got a number also of blogs, and I've included one there that Corey did about why you should migrate to BC before the end of life. And then, as always, if you have any questions, please reach out to me or your CSM or sales executive for next steps. And with that, thank you all so much, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.